You know, Doug, the World Cup has started in the United States. I know it's a worldwide event, but it's being held in the U.S. this year. Football, they call it, although that's not the football we're going to be talking about tonight. Good evening. Welcome to College Football This Week. Not the football that you're probably seeing, on other things. Well, that's all right. We're just glad you're with us tonight. Doug, it's been a good week. But I know that there's a lot more to talk football-wise. Really quickly, are you done with softball? Are you ready for, you talk more football all the time now?
We have started our previews. They've been going up. We've started doing some things on all of the high schools that we come back. We are full speed ahead. Finished up some old baseball stuff that we had, but we're full speed ahead. Football. I had somebody ask me the other day when the off season was, and I was like, Tuesday. That was it. We did some 7-on-7 the other day, and man, just anything to keep these kids going, to keep some stuff on there, and doing everything we do with Mrs. 446 and the dogs, and just staying busy.
Yeah, you have a new channel. We'll talk about that a little bit later on because we do want to mention that. However, glad you all are with us tonight on College Football This Week. An abbreviated show tonight, and I know when I say that, Doug, that's the death knell for abbreviation. However, I really believe that is the case. And we did have a guest scheduled for tonight. Unfortunately, that guest is not going to be able to make it. But we do have a couple of things to talk about. And one of those, Doug, is this. There is conference realignment football-wise in the NAIA, not for 26, but for 2027, Andrew College, which will be playing in the NAIA, a former two-year school, which has had football for the last 2 years and very good football for the last 2 years out of Cuthbert, Georgia, will be an independent for 2026. We'll be playing in the Appalachian Athletic Conference in 2027, as will Faulkner. The Eagles are moving from the Mid-South to be playing in the AAC in 27, and Doug, I think it's good for both schools.
Look, it's a jump start. I don't. Here's what I don't like though, is that having to sit out a year or go independent for a year, and not be able to go ahead and do it. But I understand it with the scheduling and all of those things. It's just you don't want to get into that lame duck period. But it's a tremendous step up for both of those schools, and I like it a lot.
I do too, and I think that it makes it. Well, for Andrew specifically, and you're right, you jump on board in the NAIA, scheduling is going to be an issue. It was one of those things for Defiance coming back from Division III a couple of years ago into the NAIA schedule. And so there were challenges in there. Fortunately, they could play a lot of their D3 schools along the way. But for Andrew not having that same route, they'll get some of their previous schools, I'm sure, on the schedule. We'll get that schedule to you a little bit later on. I think it's a good move for Faulkner as well. New head coach last season, and there are rivalries that are baked into that move into the AAC, and I think it's going to be a solid move for them coming out of the Mid-South. Now, the Mid-South, however, consider this. It's going to be down to just 6 football schools, and so you don't want that number to dwindle too much farther than that if you are the Mid-South Conference.
Look, and the one, what was it? The conference that LCU was in when they were D3. It was the one that had Mary Hardin Baylor in it, Hardin Simmons in it as well. And when LCU got out of that and another got out of it, they were back to playing each other a couple of times a year. And nobody wants that. That doesn't, especially in a conference that Mary Hardin Baylor's in, because they're beating up on everybody. And it's difficult to do. You go back and we talked about the 50 times that LCU and Northwestern State have played. All of those are back in the 1900s and in those times when there were just a couple of games, 3 or 4 games a season, and you were going back and forth playing the teams that were close. I don't want to see it get any shorter than that, because nobody wants to go somewhere, and that's a bad sign for it. So consolidation may be a little better than expansion sometimes.
Yeah, you're right. The North Star, which is now part of the Frontier Conference, got down to where it was just 5 schools, and then 4 moved on over as another school made its way in Jamestown onto Division II. So we'll be watching the Mid-South on that. I'm not necessarily a fan of realignment, conference realignment on the whole, Doug, but a lot of that is just the bad taste I have in my mouth from watching so much go on the Division I level that that schools I still, I'm a Big 8 guy. Nothing wrong with the Big 12, but I'm a Big 8 guy. That's what I grew up with. I remember the Southeastern Conference with 10 teams, not 16. And so, the Big 10, by the way, not having members on both coasts. So,
look,
there we go.
The biggest disaster is the Pac-10 or 12 or 6 or whatever you want to call it. They're all over the country is where they're going. And you can just imagine these travel budgets, because I know what it is when the Cats went out to Arizona, and that was some big travel. Now, there's a lot more money in those programs. But we've talked about this and almost sound like a broken record. Something's going to have to change because they can't just keep printing money.
That is true. That is true. But Doug, and we didn't officially give a moratorium on talking about the Protect College Sports Act, but I know we were trying to stay away from that at some point. But yeah, you just can't keep printing money. Hey, shout out to Tool Envy, who's listening while driving tonight, as well as Matt. And since Matt is in the chat, Doug, I'm going to go ahead and mention, man, we're continuing the 50 States in 50 Days on Midwest Sports Net and talking to folks from all around the country. Matt, we had a Mayville State guy, and I mean a big-time Mayville State guy on, the baseball coach, former baseball coach Scott Berry, on this week, and that was just a lot of fun. Doug, I have to tell you, this I've had a chance to visit with some incredible people. Coach Berry he was absolutely one of those and more. Great guy, 42 years at the helm at Mayville State, and that was just a lot of fun. This has been a neat thing, but I was hoping to see Matt in the chat tonight, so I could definitely give that shout out to Mayville State.
Look, that is so great to see. And anybody that's not went back and watched these episodes, go back and do that, because you can do it at your leisure. Put it while you're driving, while you're going around places, you're able to listen to it. But I'm blown away by how you keep getting each one raises the bar a little bit more.
Well, it's been a lot of fun, but I'll say this: it's a lot of work trying to get all those folks there, and we're still going to finish in 50 days.
Right.
We are still going to finish this in 50 days. All right. Now, Doug, we had our news. Let's go ahead on this abbreviated show tonight. Last week, we talked about the Week 0 matchups, non-Saturday Week 0 matchups that were on the docket, and we have a few more that are Saturday matchups because there were so many of them. We didn't want to put them all out there, and I'm pretty sure I have a graphic for that, so we can bring that up there and look at this really quickly. Yeah, we do. Although it says non-Saturday, that's wrong. They're Saturday matchups. Just forget what it says on the graphic there, Doug. They are Saturday matchups, and quite a few of them. So let's look at these. So we'll ask the chat really quickly here. Which one of these do you think is going to be the biggest game of the day? And there are a lot of them on there. I think I count around 11 games that are on there. Doug, one of them I know stands out to you because you're going to make that trip up there, and I may.
The wheels are turning. I know. That's why we look, and I know you did it alphabetically too, so you didn't put one thing or another. But that Benedictine and Morningside game is going to really be a lot of fun. It's a 6 p.m. kickoff. Going to be a lot of fun. That allows me to fly out of Baton Rouge into Omaha and drive on up the rest of the way. And look, it's typical NAIA. You make things work. From Baton Rouge directly, it's by the time you get it's $1,100. You fly into Omaha and drive up an hour and a half. It's $300. Man, that's less than I drove on some LC trips last year.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Now I look at that really quickly, and I think let's talk about some of these as we go through there. Again, scratch the non-Saturday. If you're listening, you don't see the graphic, and if you're watching this, just it's the Saturday matchup. By the way, Matt, you caught that, a freshman, Coach Berry's first year. Wow.
How about that,
man? Matt, that goes back a year or two. So yeah, cool. But he was great. Thoroughly enjoyed visiting with Coach Berry. All right, Benedictine Morningside. Doug, they're 2-2 all time against one another. Benedictine's won the last two, both of them regular season games. 38-34 last year, won by 3 in 2024. Morningside won by 3 in 2023, and it was the championship matchup in 2018. Morningside won that one 35-28 to take the title. One of 3 in 4 years for Morningside back when. So this is a big time non-conference matchup.
This is what you see Division I doing. We see a little bit of this on Thursday. There were a couple of big time games in too, but this is how you start a season off too. And this loss doesn't hurt either one of them. I don't care what anybody wants to say about it. These are going to be 2 quality opponents by the time it gets all the way down to week 10 or 11. You look back at games like this, and this is what you want to see. If you're recruiting, if you're getting kids onto campus, this is the time to do it. This just does so much for both of these programs, and it's not like they need a lot of help. But, man, this solidifies their place as Mount Rushmore teams.
I agree with you. Should be a top 5 matchup again this year to get the season started. And I also agree with you in the standpoint that this game will not affect the playoff hopes of either one of these teams, because just the matchup alone,
that's right,
and putting that out there. And both of them made the playoffs last year, played each other, and they both made the playoffs the year before that, played each other. So, yeah, it's one of those things. All right, Clark at Mount Marty, second meeting all time. Mount Marty won last year 37-22. Year 6 for the program for Mount Marty, year 8 for the program for Clark, and so these are 2 relatively new programs, and this game's going to be there in Yankton. Dakota State at Dakota Wesleyan, Doug. Last year, this one actually proved to have an impact on the playoffs. Dakota Wesleyan gets the upset 16-14. Dakota State with a narrow edge in this rivalry. It's the 68th meeting, 35-31-1. Dakota State with the edge there, and both of them, it's their second most often played opponent. For Dakota State, they played South Dakota Mines more often. That's a Division II school now. And for Dakota Wesleyan, they played Sioux Falls more often, also a Division II school right now. So,
look, when you get rivalry games, when you get rivalry games like this too, and this is as cliche as whoever commits the least turnovers is going to win the game. But you throw the records out, and I know they're 0-0 and they're just starting out, but these guys know each other. I mean, it's one of those that you circle on the calendar. Just so happens to be in week 0.
All right, Eastern Oregon at College of Idaho. There are a number of big games that are in the Frontier Conference. This one's one of those. It's a crossover matchup. Actually, it's not a crossover matchup. It's a non-conference matchup, which will be played between the 2 schools, and it's to get the season started. This is one of those where, Doug, you go back to playing a team sometimes more than once in a season, but you want to get that schedule filled, but you don't have to play the whole conference slate 2 times in a year, and that's the big deal right there. 56th meeting between the 2, College of Idaho with a 41-13-1 advantage all time. College of Idaho won 21-17 last year against a very good Mountaineer team. I think a sneaky Mountaineer team, but College of Idaho's won 9 of the last 10 in this series.
Look, the Yotes have so much going on. We saw them in the regional that LSUA was in softball, and just they're doing a lot of great things on campus, and another big one to go to. It's I love the name, the Yotes, and man, it should be fun.
All right, really quickly, shout out to Randy who's in the chat tonight. Doug, my son and I talked with Coach Morris.
Yep.
On his way to vacation, he said to tell you, hey.
Coach Mo is the D-line coach, and well, they're licking their chops there, because he told me the other day in an interview that we did that he's got his best recruiting class of defensive linemen that have been there, and he returns all D linemen. I think they returned 9 of 11 starters off offense and defense, but Coach Mo and that defensive unit are fired up.
Moving on down, Faulkner at Southeastern. This was a conference matchup at one point in time.
Hang on a sec, Joe. That comment from Matt, we need to pop that up because that piques my
interest. I'm gonna get there because we actually have it on the schedule. So
yes, we do. That's good.
Yeah, I'm gonna get. I promise, Matt. I haven't forgotten you. I promised, and Doug too. I didn't slip on past it. I know it's there. I was gonna get to it here in just a second as we get down there. Faulkner at Southeastern, 11th meeting. Southeastern 6-4 all time. and won 2 straight, including a touchdown victory last year and a 34-0 shutout in 2024. Faulkner, as we mentioned a little earlier, heading to the AAC. But this, however, is also a non-conference matchup, Mid-South and Sun Conference between the two. They were both in the Mid-South when it was a monstrosity of a conference, football conference a few years back. It's kind of broken up into these 3 different conferences, which those were the divisions anyway. So it's really nothing new there. All right, Georgetown College at Butler. Not that far a trip from Georgetown up to Indianapolis. The 9th meeting between the two. Doug, Butler's 7-1. Now, Butler's D1 school. Yep. They won 31-21 the last time these two teams met, but that was in 1994. You and I were both a lot younger then. 24-21 in 1993. That was the year I got married. They've won 7 straight overall in the series. The only time Georgetown's won was 14-7. That was back in 1980, the very first game in the series, and Butler was Division II then. So this one's rekindling a little bit of a series.
It's good to see those things come back around. Again, I like Butler in this, but it's just I'm a nostalgic type of guy, and it's good to see these stories come back.
I like those too. We'll have another one down here too. You want to talk about a series being revitalized there? How about this one, Doug? And this is where we bring this up with Matt's comment.
Right.
Mayville State at Briarcliff. First meeting between the two schools. Mayville State 5-6 last year, but Coach Larson's team lost the last 3, and so not the way they wanted the season to end. Briarcliff, second winning season all time, 6-5 with the record last year. This is a nice out-of-conference matchup, and Doug, you know what? Could make 2 games in one day, maybe.
What time is kickoff? That's what Matt, if you know that, what time is kickoff on that game?
I'd look it up on my computer, Matt, but
we don't touch it. Yeah, we don't want.
Yeah, I'm not touching the other. The broadcast computer needs to stay on. The other computer, let's not suck away any internet signal right now. But look that up. That one could be fun, Doug.
That will be, even if we get just the ability to go over there and check out these campuses. Look, I'll go back to that Benedictine and Morningside game, and it's a great game to watch. I have 0 dog in that hunt. I just get to go and experience the atmosphere in the school, and if we can make it a daily double, let's do it.
Absolutely. By the way, just in case anyone does think anything different, you know what? Doug has a dog in the hunt when it comes to Louisiana Christian.
Yes.
But other than that, it's a very neutral broadcast, and listen, I've got nothing. The Sooner Athletic Conference, I'm in that footprint because I live in the Sooner State, but I don't have anyone. Southeastern, is Division II. I work there. I have 2 of my degrees are from there. So, but it's not NAI, so it's a neutral broadcast here.
But were it not for the Sooner Athletic Conference, there would be no Joey and Doug show. So for good or for bad, take that how you want it.
Yeah, I think it's a good conference. All right, so Matt, if you happen to know that, let us know. We'll move on really quickly, but we haven't forgotten that because that's something now that Doug and I definitely can be thinking about. How about this one, Doug? Mid-American Nazarene at Nelson, second all-time meeting between the two. Mid-American Nazarene won last year 37-13. That was up in Olathe. I was at that game and got to see Mid-America, one of its final games at the ODAC before it moved into its new facility. And I think was looking ahead at this year, and I believe that Midwest Sports Saturday will be making a trip to Olathe once again to see the new facility. So that one could and should be an interesting game there in Waxahachie. Southwestern at Bethel. 71st meeting between these two conference opponents. Southwestern with a 48-21-1 all-time lead in the series. Won only the last 2, though, and last year a big-time win, 61-7, the season opener, as the Mound Builders took down the Threshers in that one. So Southwestern, we're looking forward. I'm looking forward to getting to visit with Coach Griffin for a preview video sometime very soon, so we get a chance to hear from that. St. Francis at Campbellsville. Third meeting all-time between the two. Campbellsville is 2-0. Won last year 31-28, and that was a big-time non-conference matchup as well. Now, St. Francis made it into the playoffs. I think that loss there might have been some folks that thought that could go against them, but it wound up not doing it, and St. Francis did make the playoffs. The only other time they met was back in the 2001 playoffs. The first round matchup, and Campbellsville won that one too, doubling up St. Francis 42-21. Doug, that's another big time out of conference matchup between those two right there.
Look, this week 0, say what you guys want to say about it, and eventually it'll be just week 1.
Yeah,
I love this. I love let's go and let's see where we're at.
All right, we do have a report back from Matt. And Matt says, looks like both of them are evening games. I kind of figured as much. In August, you're generally going to get a 6 o'clock or a 7 o'clock game in some cases. So, but, right across town, at least to be able to see the campus, that'd be pretty cool.
Get involved, maybe in some tailgating. Go around there for some pregame festivities and look around, because
exactly right.
The way I figure should be in town around 1 o'clock. And that's plenty of time to motor around and check out the campus and explore a little bit and go around. So yeah, absolutely. Catch the first half of one, second half of another. Who knows?
All right, one more, Doug. Wayland Baptist at Sul Ross State. This is the 7th meeting between the two. Sul Ross State 5-1 all time. And they've won 5 straight, but all of them have come since Wayland Baptist reinstated the program. Now, Sul Ross State was D3 up until a couple of years ago. They're D2 now. They are part of the Lone Star Conference down there in Texas. Of course, Wayland Baptist in AIA. The one win for Wayland Baptist, Doug, 25-8. I know that's an odd score, but it came back in 1930, Wayland Baptist's first season for football. 1930 to 1941, and then you know what happened in 1941. Well, we got involved in this big war, World War II, not World War XI, as someone famously said recently. It is World War II. The Wayland Baptist program went dormant for 70-plus years, just reinstated in 2012, and since that time, they've faced off against in-state rival and Sul Ross State a few times. So I think it's a good one, and I think. And I haven't said which one of these I think is the biggest matchup yet. I'd love to hear from the chat on this. Anyone, please feel free to step in on this one. But, Doug, I'm telling you, I saw it last year. The year before, I was a little bit hesitant. Last year, I wasn't afraid to say it. I think you have to watch this Wayland Baptist team. I really do. I think that they are primed, and they are on the cusp of just breaking out.
We see them in the Sooner Athletic Conference. So, we got that. I think, what was it, a 6-point game last year, 43-37, 44, whatever it was with them and Louisiana Christian. The year before that, it was that type of a game. These guys can put some points on the board, and they're not – you can be 2-3 touchdowns ahead if you happen to get that way, and there's not a bit of quit in this Wayland Baptist team. They're going to continue to come after you and come after you and come after you. This is going to be a pretty good one.
I think so. I think this is a big matchup, and if Wayland Baptist is able to upset Sul Ross State at home, and that would be an upset. It's a D2 program. If that happens, I think that they're going to be on a whole lot more folks' radar. But I want to have it, as it's said, right here first, Doug. We said it first here, so I think there's someone to watch. All right. Any thoughts there outside of Benedictine Morningside? I know you that one's big to you. Is another one step out to you and just say, hey, this is one you have to watch?
Let me look through here so I just don't jump out at anything on there. I like Eastern Oregon and College of Idaho. Yeah. I want to see how the Yotes rebound and get back into another season of it too. That's a very big game up there. I do like that Wayland Baptist Sul Ross, because I think Wayland's got a big chance in that game. I like the mystique of a lot of these games. A trip from Mid-American Nazarene down to Waxahachie to play former SAGU in Nelson, and another one of those Sooner Athletic Conference teams. That'll be one that we watch. So Benedictine and Morningside, only because I do have a dog in that one, but man, this is just this caps off. This is, if you'll remember several years ago when football would start on Saturday with college football and the opening of it, and it would end on a Monday night game and everything would go. This is 3 good days of football from Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Yeah, it really is. And don't forget about that game between Dorton, Indiana Wesleyan on a Friday night, because that gets that third day involved. Other than Benedict and Morningside, which I think it should be a given, it should be a top 5 matchup. I agree with you. I like Eastern Oregon at College of Idaho. I think that the Mountaineers under a new administration, new leadership there. Mm-hmm. That one should be interesting to see. Obviously, Coach Morosky's squad at College of Idaho is going to be ready for them. I think the St. Francis Campbellsville game is big as well. And I'll tell you another one, and not just because Matt's watching. I think that the Mayville State Briar Cliff game, that whoever comes out of that one has a real jump to go into conference play. And so I think that one is one to watch as well. So keep that one in mind as you look through your Saturday, not non-Saturday, but your Saturday matchups for the week 0 for 2026. All right, Doug, one other thing too. Randy says DSU, DWU, always big. It's right, because it's a rivalry game. Had an impact on last year's playoffs. Doug, potential sites for October 31st, because we know we are going to be somewhere, and whether or not we're in the same place on August 29th, we will be in the same place on October 31st.
That is correct.
Could be Baldwin City, Kansas, Mid-American Nazarene at Baker right there. Could be Des Moines, Iowa, William Penn at Grandview. Could be Lebanon, Tennessee, Lindsey Wilson at Cumberland. Could be Madison, South Dakota, Mayville State at Dakota State. Could be Marion, Indiana. Yes, I'm going alphabetically. Taylor at Indiana Wesleyan. That one could be a very good one, as a matter of fact. McPherson, Kansas. Southwestern at McPherson. Could be Nixa, Missouri, which is where the Evangel Valor play their home games, just outside Springfield, not very far away. Tabor at Evangel. You know what, Doug? Could be Salina, Kansas, where Friends will be on the road this year at Kansas Wesleyan. I saw that game last year, but it was in Wichita. It was at their AA baseball park. So that was an interesting one as well. So Doug,
that's a few to throw out there to you. As much as I bid for getting somewhere down in Florida, didn't look like it worked out very well. We're going to be going north probably, but I'll see more of the Midwest than I have in my life. There's no doubt about that. So wherever we pick, we're going to narrow it down next week. Yep. And have a top 5 to 10 list, and let you guys give some input into that too. That's the idea. Yeah. We need to hear from the community.
We do, and I have an idea. I know what Matt thinks, and I have an idea. I know what Tool Envy thinks.
That's correct
as well. So, and Doug, both of those are Midwest.
Yes,
you're going to be. Do you see being the Midwest? I was looking, by the way, on both of those. As a matter of fact, I was looking at the travel to both of those games. A little bit more on the Madison, South Dakota one. There's not a lot of flights into South Dakota. I mean, you're looking at another flight to Omaha and driving again.
That's right.
So
look, you got to remember, I was on the
Minneapolis
road in the Sooner Athletic Conference. We flew into Amarillo once and drove into Panhandle, and flew into Tulsa and drove into Langston. I've flown into Orlando and driven up to DeLand. So, man, it's the love of the game. Let's go.
That's okay. All right. So keep that in mind. And by the way, let's do this. Let me ask this question first as we start to wrap it up. See, I promised abbreviated show tonight.
You did.
What have we learned on the show tonight, Doug? Chat, what have you learned on the show tonight? Community? Well,
that's early to fit. My mind wasn't ready for what we've learned. I've learned that the NAIA is evolving into a conference that, look, if you love football and you love the way that it's supposed to be, this is one thing that you want to watch. If you don't believe there's evidence to it, look at the Thursday, Friday, Saturday games that are out there. And if you watch that weekend and don't come out of there as a fan of the NAIA, you just as soon go watch some USFL or arena ball, because this is the way to kick off a weekend. No pun intended.
No, but you have to throw that out there like that. No, I agree with you entirely. I learned while I was studying this week and getting ready for this, I learned a little bit more about just how the Appalachian Conference is in the process of becoming something really. I think it's putting itself in a good position, right. And with the additions of both Faulkner, again, under, Coach Brown's his first year last year. So going into year 2, I think there are a lot of good rivalries there. It builds up the conference because St. Andrews had to shut down football last year, a couple of years ago. So that the conference shrunk then. Well, it was a couple of years ago, but then Rio Grande came in. And Andrew is a very, very good football school. I think people are going to be really impressed how they just step right in, and I think they're going to make some noise early. Again, we know what Reinhardt can do. We know what Pikeville can do. I've already said what I think Kentucky Christian can do. So I think what I've learned again in this week is the Appalachian is putting itself in a very strong position for the future.
Look, and we've seen that's what you've got to do. You've got to be in a strong conference in order to get more than one bid, just to get more than that automatic bid. And conference play is tough. Again, it's at home. So the Sooner Athletic Conference, one team a year is all they're getting in is that automatic bid, because the rest of it's the strength of conference is not there. It hasn't been historically. And so if you get teams that are winning playoff games and that are scheduling other playoff teams and winning those games, they're more likely to get that other bid, and they can slip up one time and lose to another team. So that's very good. I love to see it.
I think so too, and I'll tell you something else too. The AAC is a lot like the Sooner in the sense the last couple of years. I mean, there was no question it was a one bid league.
Right.
The last 2 years in the Appalachian, I mean, no question it was a one bid league. But that's because a lot of the teams got beaten up so badly in their non-conference portion of the schedule. And here's where I think growing the conference helps, and this is going to sound like a cop-out for the conference, and I don't mean it this way, but first off, you get more conference teams. You don't have to play as many out-of-conference games.
That's right.
But secondly, as you're building that up there, you recruit well, and you put yourself in a position where you may win and pick up a couple more wins early on. Then when conference play starts, you might be looking at more than one team playing for that at-large opportunity if you can't get the outright bid there. So again, I just think it's something big for the AAC. All right, Doug, wrapping up, no show next week.
No show.
And I'll tell you why. So usually I'll give you the first one. I'll take it on this one. I will be talking football next week, but I'll be down in Frisco. I'll be on the call for the Women's National Football Conference All-Pro game, kind of their Pro Bowl game. So it'll follow their championship game, which is interesting. Both those games taking place at Frisco, and it's going to be at the Star, which is where the Cowboys, they do some practice over the course of the past few years. But it's going to be a Pro Bowl type game, and Vince DeLisio, friend of the channel, is going to be with me, and we'll be calling that game next Sunday night, 7:00.
Look, that's exciting. If it wasn't a 4.5, 5 hour trip over there, I'd be around there just to be the stat guy or something, because that's going to be such a great atmosphere. They plan a whole weekend around this too. They've got some high school stuff that's over there on it, and they make a big weekend out of it. Look, if you don't think that women's flag is making a big impact around, go in there and look at some of the early games and see all the interest and everything that's going on it.
Yeah, and you know what the cool thing about this one, of course, flag football is so big, and they're going to promote some of that. But this is full on football. I mean, it is full contact.
They do some high school stuff before that and around it. So I mean, it's
the high school stuff's flag, but
Yep.
But yeah, this is interesting, and it's something too. I follow some people on social media who have been a part of this, and just to see, I try to follow from a lot of different areas and a lot of different sports, but they actually play by the NCAA. Well, it's a modified NCAA rule book, but pretty close to the NCAA football rules, and so it is very interesting. So that's what's going on. So no show next week, but we'll continue on the channel with 50 States in 50 Days on Midwest Sportsnet. Doug, anything on 446 Sports, or do you have a new channel?
We'll hit 446 real quick. Coming up in 2 weeks, we're sitting down with a Division I head coach that we're going to interview that happens to play against, or LCU is going to play in week 3, happens to be Marshall Falk, who is the head coach of Southern. And so we've got an interview lined up with him, and that's pretty exciting. But the wife and I launched another channel. It's called Along the Way with Doug and Melissa. And, she's flipped furniture. We've traveled and done some different things. And so we didn't want to put that into the sports side of it, because then you start running folks out of the channel that you're on. But we've started a brand new one. It's called, as I said, it's called Along the Way with Doug and Melissa. And man, it's just about life is all that it is. We're up to 9 subscribers on it now too. So had our first 1,400 view video, and man, I was excited about that. It's just life. So we invite you to go check that out if you'd like.
All right. I think I have that in the chat now, so that you can check that out. Did I spell everything right?
Along the Way with Doug. Yes, there's an ampersand in between the Doug and Melissa, but I think you'll find it anyway.
Sorry about that.
But being a small channel, it's tough to find. You've got to be looking for it. It's like Panhandle. You got to be going there to get there.
You don't show up in Goodwell, Oklahoma, just out of nowhere. You had to.
You don't do it by accident. I promise.
Well, Doug, by the way, that's the AP style in me. That's the journalist in me. I don't use ampersands unless it is part of a name. So I should have done it because it's part of a name. All right,
I'm just glad,
Doug. I'm
glad that you and I both didn't say, or that I didn't, because you're more the journalist and I'm the guy that happened to. I don't know what the guy I am, but I didn't say the little and sign that I actually called it an ampersand.
You do know what it's called.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, well, Doug, listen, shout out to everyone, by the way. Randy, thanks for being with us, part of the community tonight. Matt, part of our community tonight, as well as Tool Envy, and I hope that you were safe while you were driving. Thanks for listening in as well. We have a lot more that is coming up. There's that ampersand. That's just so you know that Doug knows what it is.
That's right.
There we go. Man. Great show tonight. Thank you all for watching. No show next week, although it is likely, very, very likely, I would say close to 100%, Doug, that there will be some content from Frisco next weekend as well. So look for that on Midwest Sportsnet. In the meantime, for Doug Gann, I am Joey McWilliams, and I am extremely glad that you all are watching. Thanks for being a part of the show, of our channels, and really of our lives. We appreciate that. More college football this week coming up 2 weeks from today, June 26th. We will see you sometime very soon. God bless you all. Have a great night.